tired of all the uneducated noise you're getting from the droves of YOLO meme coin peddling douchebag gurus out there trying to use you as their exit liquidity? Would you rather learn a competent university level set of skills that will guide you in managing and investing for the rest of your life? Join us 3 days a week at Digital Investor. Develop your knowledge of game theory, cognitive bias, macroeconomics, monetary theory, investment theory, psychology of the crowds, and more. For more info on Digital Investor and how it can help you, reach out at nickblacknext.com.
All right. What's going on? Okay, so today, hello. We're going to talk about, we did this before, but it was a long time ago. I think it was 8 months ago, 7 or 8 months ago, we talked about logarithmic thinking and investment decisions. And Brandon kind of gave a couple examples at the end of last week of logarithmic thinking. And yeah, so we're going to talk about that because I think a lot of people miss that and they are too busy trying to get, 2%, 6%, 14%, and they miss, 1,000% or 1,200%. And those are the kind of changes in your portfolio that make a substantive difference. I mean, it's good that you can beat inflation if you can figure out what that is. And if you can, grow your portfolio by inflation plus 7.5% a year, then you're more competent than every single pension fund on the planet. So it's not a bad goal. 7.5% a year plus inflation. So, and I'm just speaking in the big, gross, sloppy version of inflation, not actual currency inflation versus, debasement risks and political price effects. I'm talking about just the overall net effect of the monetary inputs and exits that equal pervasive year-on-year inflation, always and everywhere, the monetary phenomenon. So if you could do that plus 7.5%, you'd be crushing it because pension funds are not even hitting 7% on the aggregate. They're getting just destroyed, which is kind of silly because you think, well, you can go in government debt, you can get halfway there. You can get further than that. So come on. But, go look, I always think it's interesting to see what people get paid for different things. So if you go into LinkedIn, there's those job searching sites and you put pension fund manager, see what they get paid. Those dudes don't get paid anything. So you're like, well, yeah, then it makes sense that they suck. What you pay is what you end up getting, right? Like if you pay somebody, 120K a year to manage millions, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, not going to cut it, bro. They're just going to be the minimally viable candidate. So there's that. Okay. So if you guys have any questions that are non-specifically, you can ask investment questions, but don't ask about specific assets. because I'm not going to answer that kind of stuff. Not public facing. That's all of our behind the wall content. Woo woo. Okay. Other things that I was noticing, you're seeing over the weekends, typically that Bitcoin tends to go up, but it's very spasmodic. It's up and down quite a bit. And I think a lot of people are getting blown up, and which is good because I think there's less and less of these leverage dummies in the market. I mean, well, think about it. It can't go on forever, right? Like people can't keep going into the market being stupid, blowing up their money. Even if it's, your Uber drivers, your Lyft drivers, and the people that your service industry brethren, if they go into the market every week with $250 extra that they had in tips that they could have put towards credit card debt or anything else, because, YOLO and they deserve, and they're about to catch up, and they nuke their money over and over and over, and wages are not tracking price effects. Let's not say inflation. Let's just say price effects. Then you're going to get a point where people just run out of extra money to light on fire. They're just over it. So I hope we're getting close to that. Okay, Nick and Brandon, with the 1-year anniversary of Hypercycle launch tomorrow, might you carve out time behind the wall to discuss approaches you're planning with compute? Not yet. I mean, Brandon might. And of course, we'll talk about that kind of stuff behind the wall. But until compute rolls out and we can really spend a few weeks wrapping our minds around it, then I don't think we have a specific plan. So it's going to be what the world looks like at that point. So any discussion we would have right now, Craig, would be, I think, absurd because we don't have enough information. So yeah. All right. Node market question. As Brandon rolls out the node licenses, when will we be able to split the blocks we purchased them in? That's a Brandon question. So yeah. I would ask that if you're a digital private client, ask that in the private client chat. If you're, you can ask it in the DPC chat on Telegram, or you can just, and yeah, that'd be the best way. Or just ask tomorrow during the show. I don't know on their development slate. I don't know. I think the first order of business is getting everyone their licenses. And again, so that everybody knows, everybody gets their licenses in the order which they purchased them. Even if you purchased, 512 one day, 256 6 weeks later, an 8 node bundle, a 32 node bundle, a 64 node bundle, a 128. Like, it's the order in which you purchased it. They're not just going to lump them all together because they're parts of different master nodes. So there's that. Okay. And so you'll be getting those, and they're still going out. Those are not all out yet. So don't fret. And there's nothing you can do with them right now anyway. And you will be able to split them and do all sorts of cool stuff. I just don't know what the date of that is. I don't know where that is on the list of development things. So there you go. No help. Do green coins that utilize renewable energy to mine have a future in crypto? Probably not specifically, because if you think about it, if some company makes some amazing realization, or they find some really cool way to use green and renewable energy to mine Bitcoin. I mean, mining Bitcoin is only for a specific sect or sector in the crypto space. Mining Bitcoin is, other than just the electricity it takes to plug in your computer and stuff like that, like mining Bitcoin probably tends towards, or at least relates more towards proof of work assets like Bitcoin, like Btrash, like a lot of these proof of work assets that require a lot of miners to take a bunch of rigs and plug them in and do a bunch of superfluous compute in order to compete to win a block so that they can get a block reward and propagate forward their version of the ledger for a fixed amount of time. So that very specific proof of work assets, that specific consensus model that utilizes a lot of energy. Well, if Bob over on the corner figures something out, you're just going to implement the same thing. Alice will, Charlie will, everybody will just implement the same things. So I don't think simply being green means anything, because those are hardware issues, not software issues. And the difference between the tokens are the difference between the projects, these are software projects. So a hardware solution would be implemented. Like if there was a better way to hold your pen, everybody would just start holding their pen that way. And then the first guy was like, I was the first guy. And everybody else is like, so what? Great. Good job with your fingers with the pen, buddy. Now we all do it. Damn. Now finger pen guys he didn't make any money. You can't really, I don't think you can copyright or trademark finger pen ergonomic formation. Brandon, shout out. Cool. You know, Brandon's not here. Anyway, I mean, he is here. He is here in spirit. But today Tuesdays and Thursdays are his days of just, well, right now, sending out licenses. Thanks, Brandon, for all the work sending out the licenses as well as the video. Yeah, he's good. Brandon's good. That's why we keep him around. And I say we, it's just me and him. See, I can't fire Brandon because he's the other half of the, and he can't fire me either. There's only two of us. So every time we have a vote, it's dead even. 1-0 democracy. Joke's on you. Okay, yes, you can still buy new licenses. And it is first in, first out on the licenses. So yes, you can still buy new licenses. The new licenses for Hypercycle, they are tilling since April 15th. Everything before that goes back to the early days, which means there's probably a little premium on older licenses. Let's see when that starts to rear its snarky little head. And you will be able to, soon enough, you will be able to buy, sell, trade, whatever, your licenses, whether they're in tilling, in production, whatever, right here on Node Market. So that'll be kind of cool. You'll have a marketplace for the licenses. For those of you that want to farm the licenses, you have no intention of doing compute, but you want to farm them up and just get the tilling, that score as high as possible, as close to 2 as possible without compute, you could do so. And you might have people that's their whole business model, although I think that would be narrow-sighted. That would be short-sighted, because I think the money is in having those node licenses continue to split and split and split, go through the stages of mitosis up to 10 splits so that one license eventually becomes 1,024 licenses, all with 1 token each. That'd be super cool. And you're making, even if you're making dust, if you're making dust times 1,024, it's not dust anymore. I made a lot of currency units in the early days because when staking was kind of a newer thing, I was staking stuff and coins were so cheap. Like my average Cardano purchase was 2.7 cents. It doesn't look as great now as it did, in 2021 when that was, I was over 100x on it. But the staking on that. So you think about it. Okay, I'm staking. I'm getting, let's say 6%, 6.5%, 7%. And let's say I have, 100 tokens. So I'm getting 7 tokens a year. Right. But then if the price does 100x, it's the same as getting 700 tokens a year. Only my investment was 100 tokens. So my 100 token investment is earning me a 700 token a year dividend, in a sense, through staking rewards. Again, this is just a very sloppy example, but that's what was happening. And for a while, Cardano didn't do anything for a while. It's probably not going to do anything at this point anyway, but it didn't do anything for a while. And so for about 2 years, I was getting staking rewards. I remember I was staking. Daedalus was kind of a nut bag to use. So I was actually staking at Bitrue, I think, for a long time, and they were giving 7.7%, crushing it. So I remember I think I had 170 or so, I don't know. I had some ridiculous amount of tokens just from staking. It was awesome. Anyway, so I do look at that sometimes. I say, what are some other ways I can get some compounded interest? I'm always after compounded interest if it doesn't put up any red flags. When someone's offering 25, 30, 60, 100% interest, a 1% per day interest, any of that kind of bull crap, it immediately red flags. Bing, 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 bing. I don't want to have anything to do with it. This is sketchy. I'm out. No way. No. So you got to be very careful. All right. Kirill asks 2 questions. Janet Yellen is scared out of her mind about the reverse carry trade. Does this mean they sacrifice equities to save treasuries? This would dump crypto hard. No. Okay. Let me try to make that simpler. First of all, which is the Treasury Department, there's not much they can do to affect the market. They've tried for years. There's not much that they do. And listen, the Treasury is the only one that actually deals in currency units. The Fed does not deal in currency units. So I don't know that, Janet Yellen may be scared about a whole bunch of things, but I don't know that any of that is real. Also, the stock market is not indicative of the economy. You must understand this. This is something you remember, in movies where they go, you got to believe me. I would be like the person in the movie, like, I don't got to believe nothing. Why do I got to believe you? I don't got to believe you. Well, you should endeavor to believe this. The Fed doesn't do money. The Treasury barely does money. The U.S. government is in so many tens of trillions of dollars of debt that the debt is not ever repayable. Don't take my word for it. Jerome Powell said this. I think he said it on 60 Minutes. It will never be repaid. Think about that for a second. So let's just do some just gross thinking. The guy that runs the Fed said the U.S. debt will never, ever be paid back. One, you would go, why are we paying taxes on anything when there's 34 plus trillion in debt that will never, ever be paid? What difference does the U.S. taxpayer make at the end of the year? Why are there so many hundreds of thousands of IRS employees? Why are all of them employed? One might say they're employed just to be employed. The government pays one person to dig a ditch and then pays someone else to fill it. And that's GDP. Where do you think all of this ridiculous debt's coming from? It's not mine and your debt. So, one, why are there any taxes, period? Why don't we go to some kind of flat tax scheme? Weird. Okay. 2, since the Fed does nothing, has already said they can't affect, through the years in Fed speak, they've said, whether it was Greenspan, Fireman Ben, Bernanke, Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell, they've all said that, Janet Yellen was the one that said there'll never be another recession while we were in one. Like while we were actually in a recession, she said there'll never be another recession. Don't worry, everyone. There'll never be another sunset. What? What are you talking about? I can see it on my watch. It's 7:37 p.m. Nope. Never again. All right, Janet. God. So not much that the Treasury does matters much, because the amount of government debt and the burden. And another thing, you almost wonder why even sell government debt? If you're just printing money out of thin air anyway, just print it and do whatever you want with it. Like, what's the difference? Because it gives the guys the The perception of legitimacy is the only reason, because what do all these other countries do? They go and buy U.S. government debt because it's the most safest liquid. I mean, it's the most safest liquid asset out there, right? Other than the currency itself. And sometimes the collateral effect of having U.S. government, government debt instruments is better than even having cash, because you have your cake and eat it too. You can go pledge it into repo, you can go lend it, and you can get paid on your debt. So you can have your debt and you can get paid also in cash units. So there's this whole funding market that deals with mostly government collateral. And that's pretty much it. Is any of it necessary? It is for private businesses. It's not for the U.S. government, because the U.S. government can print money out of thin air. And apparently there's no intention of ever paying it back. So, Karul, your question is legitimate, but pointless. And I don't mean that your question is pointless. It's a legitimate question, but the answers are pointless. The whole thing is pointless. It's all silly. So what would make crypto dump hard? Well, if there was a major catastrophe in the stock market, but you know how the stock market, you know how that response is? Oh, the markets are, the economy's terrible, so we're going to have to cut rates. Oh, you're cutting rates? Yes, that's a bunch of cash. That's like stimulus. We're going to bet more money in stock market. And so the stock market goes up. And then eventually quarters go by. All those assets that went up, they have to give quarterlies. And those companies are not performing. Why? Because the stock was going up for no reason other than because everybody thinks that stocks are going up, so stocks go up. But it's not a litmus test or any kind of thermometer or temperature gauge to the economy. You can't print prosperity, right? You can fake it for a minute or two. You can fake it for a bit. But there's this weird reverse kind of response function where, oh, the market's crap, therefore the Fed will cut, therefore I should buy because things will go up. What? Does that make sense? That the economy's trash, therefore the stock market should be good because they'll cut rates and that's like just an infusion of cash? It isn't. Oh, the Fed's gonna stimulate the economy. How? With bank reserves. Okay, how? How do bank reserves stimulate anything? Can't buy hamburgers with bank reserves. So they don't. It's all nonsense. It's propaganda. Even Bernanke said that. It's 2% efficacy, 98% speech. The idea is that you talk the market into going in certain directions. And in an unintelligent market full of dummies, that works. And the weird thing is, there's so many dummies. They run hedge funds. They run states, whole governments. It's amazing how many dummies there are. And it's also awesome. The more dummies there are, the better. If the world was full of really, really smart, intelligent people that had your best interest at heart, there'd be no money to be made in trade. There'd be no arbitrage to be made. You couldn't have any intellectual arbitrage. So it's a gift that all these people are fools. It's an absolute gift. Every time I meet a stupid person, I'm like, yes, they still exist. Every dummy I meet, every idiot, every moron that manages, $160 million, every slow, mentally handicapped banker that I meet, low performing, hall monitor ass banker that I meet. I'm like, yes, keep them coming. So I think that mostly markets move on news, not facts. And Kirill, I wouldn't worry too much about any direct correlation between what Janet Yellen does and crypto. I think that on the aggregate, people look at Bitcoin and the other crypto assets mostly as stupid, but the group that does like to invest in crypto, it's a hedge against bad or profligate government behavior or governance. And that's all you see everywhere. And, they're foolish. And it's weird too, because you're like, I don't understand why. How Jerome Powell seems like a smart guy. Like he doesn't talk like a moron, but it's that they are partly a political organization, even though they claim not to be. And all of these organizations, listen, everybody's political, right? Everybody sings for their supper. Everybody's got someone they have to appease, even if it's just the people that voted them into office. And they're also looking at their exit, how they're gonna exit, what's their career gonna look like. You know, Gary Gensler wants to run the Treasury. You guys see that, right? It should be more than obvious. That's his thing. He wants to, that's why he can be like, look, I did it all. I ran the Treasury. I ran the SEC into the ground. You know what? I think Gary Gensler would actually probably be a pretty good Treasury secretary. I know that's probably not, it's not crypto chic to say, but I think Gary Gensler would be a good, he's not a dummy. I don't know. Maybe he's just making so many enemies that he can start a talk show like Jerry Springer or something. I don't know what his deal is, but he used to be a smart guy and he's not an idiot. Jerome Powell's not an idiot. Janet Yellen's not an idiot. They say stupid things. They say stuff that boggles your mind, but they're not idiots. But a lot of times, even really smart people can just look at the wrong information, or they can look at the right information in the wrong way. It's weird. It's mind-boggling. So no, I don't think, other than some momentary effects, Kirill, I don't think that anything Janet Yellen does or anybody around there, I mean, I don't think that there's anything they can do short of saying we're confiscating Bitcoin, which I don't, that ship has sailed. So if nothing else, Bitcoin's going to have a fine history. It's going to have a good trajectory because at least that's passed muster at the SEC. I think that Ethereum will slip through and that may be the last one for a while. Now, listen, maybe Trump doesn't go to jail. Maybe. And maybe that jackwagon beats out Weekend at Bernie's Biden. I don't know what would, a new group of regulators look like. Maybe better. I know the rest of the world is going to CBDCs, central bank distributed currencies, digital currencies, as fast as possible. Except for those few governments that are like banana republics that just want to step on everyone's neck and, print, steal, and protect their little fortress with like armies and stuff like that. But I mean, just about everybody else is going full crypto. Now, that doesn't mean crapto. I guess there should be like, it's Bitcoin, stable coins, Ethereum, and everything else. And in the everything else, there are some good assets, but it's mostly bad. It's mostly crap. For every hypercycle and Ocean Protocol and Arweave and things like this, there is 150,000 crappy meme coins. For every good layer 1, there's a bunch of spammy garbage layer 2s. I mean, it's 99.9% crap. Scammy crap. But there's some diamonds in there. Let's see. When compute starts and our nodes are earning, do you know, will payments flow through Node Market to our wallet, or will payment? I think payment will go directly to your wallet. It's not going to go through Node Market. We're not like a go-between for you getting paid. When your licenses are performing their duties and they're processing AI transactions for the Internet of AI, you'll be getting paid directly. Matter of fact, I think you'll be able to see it on if you have a Hyper AI box or whatever software, we'll have monitoring software right here at No Market. You'll be able to see it right there. It'll be cool. But yeah, we're not in the middle. It's not like they pay us and we pay you. That's not how that works. We are just simply doing all the plumbing so that you guys don't have to try to go out and kind of do it yourself. It seems a bit fluid. Yes. They're green fluid, Las Vegas. It's a green fluid society. What other assets, if any, are you considering to add to Node Market for OTC? I mean, we would take suggestions. If there were Ethereum-based assets that you guys were interested in, we would look at it. And if there were, yeah, we've looked at a few things. But if it's a spammy project, if there's no, I mean, it would just have to be something that the community wanted. We're not like Coinbase, where people give us like $1 million to list. No one's paid. We haven't gotten nothing, like nothing. We've just been fueling this out of our back pockets. So yeah. Any date yet for the ASI token? I could not find yet. There is no date yet. Nothing specific. And be careful if you see any crap out there floating around like, hey, trade in your tokens and all that. No, don't do any of that kind of stuff. Fetch actually had a decent run yesterday. It got up close to like what, 249? I think it's around 240 right now. So you just keep looking at that ratio. Just keep looking at the ratio. Depending on how you want to trade that. I go back and forth 3 times a day over exactly the way I'm going to handle it. And I do have, my little kind of plan, which, again, we discussed behind the wall, but there's no date yet for anything. And as far as I understand, they don't even know, they don't have an internal date. I mean, I think that look, the guy that set this up, the Singularity DAO, if you go look at the website, it's not impressive. And this is kind of like one of the technical groups behind this thing. So, I mean, he's the dude that did the bad math. So the same dude that did the bad math that has the website where occasionally it just doesn't work. It's got a bunch of weird graphical crap, just like technical debt sitting there on the top right side of that's the dude that we're all like, oh, hope he gets it done. Like, come on, man, these guys are pretty inept. So I don't know. And that's just one part of it. I'm sure Ocean has people that are doing their thing. And because again, it's not a company merge, it's a token merge. It really is quite stupid when you think about it. Anyway, the staking thing is what I always try to explain to people, but they don't get it. I think the way to explain it is you're getting paid a dividend for supporting the network's prime objective. Whatever their prime objectives are, you're supporting that effort and you're supporting it with your tokens. That makes it easier for them to do whatever is their prime objective, and you get paid a dividend for doing that. Like taking the credit card fees every time there's a transaction, splitting them out. Okay, this may be a novice question. I'm sure it's not a novice question. I bet it's an awesome question. But when a node splits, are those splits permanent? In other words, can they unsplit lack of uptime? No, what would happen is if they split, they become 2 nodes, one becomes 2. Those 2 would just have a really bad rank. If you never went anywhere with them, like if the uptime was crap or whatever, they would just have bad, their rank would be bad. As far as I understand it, you don't go backwards that way. You go up. You know what you do? You promote to the position of greatest technical incompetence, greatest hardware compute incompetence. That's what it seems like. Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Jimbo, what up? Okay. Let's see. Hello. Okay, what about the full faith US? Well, there's that, Barry. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. Otherwise, we will get to our talk. Let me look. How can those 2 be the best America has to offer? I know, isn't that terrible? God, I don't want to get political, but man, have we failed. You know why? No one cares. If you're on it, is anybody really out picketing? Who's picketing? Like who really cares? These guys are just boobs. Like, do you think that there's really anything sustaining, lasting that any of these morons can do? Like Biden at his best and Trump at his worst, it's the same crap. They're all the same. Just Trump's got caught for a lot more stuff. They're all the same douchebags. Okay. Why do you think AGIX and Ocean are tracking at the same price since yesterday? I think that they should have been tracking at the same price sooner. I believe that it has to do with the ratio that they'll swap at. And I would have thought they would track at almost exactly that swap rate, that 0.4332, whatever, but they're tracking at about 0.41. So that's still about 4 or 5% that you'll get at. And I think that will be arbitrage tighter and tighter, but their ratios. So in the ASI, the regime, what's going to happen is fetch is 1-for-1 ASI, and then the other tokens trade into that token. So they'll trade into the ASI token. Yeah, so that's how that will go. Forbes lists $6 billion market cap. Yeah, I don't see how. Well, fully diluted, or not fully diluted, but fully circulated, because look, we can go to fetch. It's 246. We can go the total cap. So this is the total. The circulating supply is 2.46. 2.469 times 2.47. That gets you to about 6. So, yeah. Because math, man. Yeah, I mean, when the merger occurs, I don't know what's going to happen. I guess there'll be a lot of excitement and fanfare. And maybe we get back close to the all-time high. I don't know. I mean, does Fetch look any better now than it did? Would ASI be better? Maybe, because then you'd get 3 companies. We know that they're going to reverse merge NewNet. I don't know, man. None of this stuff looks all that interesting when none of them have a product. I mean, Ocean Protocol is the only actual product. That's it. It's the only one. It's the only one that has a product. And again, for those ratios, just so you guys know, you just use your Siri. You say, hey, Siri, can you divide 1.02 by 2.47?
1.02 divided by 2.47 is approximately 0.4129.
So you have the difference between 0.44 and 0.4129. And that's 0.2. So we're not there yet. That's a little bit over 6% difference. So yeah, there we go. That's that. I'd say just wait. Oh, well, I'll have some other ideas. We'll do that behind the wall, but not today. All right. Let's see. Okay. Freddie says, I own Fetch and AGIX, but no Ocean. For those who don't have Ocean, does this affect them in any way? No, it does not, because you're gonna kind of own it. If you own Fetch, you'll own all 3. If you own AGIX, you'll swap it at that 0.4332 whatever ratio for Fetch. So for every 2.4-ish, I don't know, 2.4-ish tokens, whatever, you'll get AGIX, you'll get 1 Fetch token. Does that make sense? So yeah. Okay. And then and the Ocean token is going to be absorbed, as is the AGIX token, into the new ASI token. So you would have them all. I think that the whole idea was just to create a bigger market cap kind of index fundy AI type thing. But it only works if they get into the top. They need to get top 10. I mean, even the top 20 is not, I guess it's kind of okay. They really need to be top 10. I mean, they would be top 20 if they got to 7 billion. They're not 7 billion. But it's not far off. It's 22. Just being in the top 20 is not going to cut it. You really got to be a top 10 asset for anybody to pay attention. And I think that would be what their goal is through just a barrage of marketing, things like that. Damn you, Howard, you're late all the time. Well, it's good news. I didn't use any profanity today, buddy. So I saved it for you. After 10 splits, you earn forever. Well, yeah, as long as you continue to do compute, you continue to have equipment, and you can't just like get 10 splits and walk away and be like, woo, it's over. You'll continue to get paid if you continue to do the work. Okay. Do not stare at the stamp. The stamp, Howard's just a stamp hater. It has nothing to do with the spinning stamp. He just doesn't like stamps. This stamp, the node market stamp. Howard, I'll make you a deal. If you buy 1,000 NFTs, I will never show this screen again. I will never, ever show this screen again. I promise. All you got to do is 1,000. Matter of fact, if you rally the troops and get 1,000 of these today, just today, I'll give you 7 hours. Then I will never show this screen again. Ever again. As far as you know. Okay. Let's see. Let me do one last little thing. And buying Ocean, then have all three before the merge. No, I don't think there's any benefit to buying all three. Except that if you're buying, if you're buying them and the ratio of exchange is higher than where you're buying them at, then you're getting a form of arbitrage. Right now, it's about 5 or 6%. It's the difference between 0.41, whatever I just said, and 0.4332, whatever. Okay. Kitty. Come here. Come push. Come on. Come on, Bubba. Push. Yeah. The door is like that much open. She can just push it. She's just staring at me like I have to go do it. I shouldn't have to do it. She's a cat. She might be in a situation where she has to push a door open. This is a teachable moment. She gave up on it. Teachable moment. Failed. See, we can't all be winners. That's true. He's only been indicted, and that is not, it makes no difference to me. Somebody was like, he can be president from jail. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think you can do that. This is not Italy. It's not the Berlusconi regime. What do you know about wisdomize? I don't know. I thought that's what you did when you're talking to a girl at a bar. You wisdomize them. Give them deep. Nope. Okay. How much market share of the compute would Hypercycle have to attain to become lucrative business? Would it be 5%? No. I think it's a fraction of 1%. You know how much AI compute is going on right now and how much the world needs? Mark, the answer is all. Ooh, Loki. Come here, Bubba. Meow, meow. You guys want to see Loki? Loki. Come here, Bubba. Give me a second. He hasn't had a guest appearance in a minute. Loki. Come here, Bubba. Come here, baby. Oh, look what we got. Here, I know, Bubba. Here, you're going to do a guest appearance. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all you get. That's all you get. All right. Back to business. We gotta learn some stuff. No, I think Hypercycle is fine on if they get a percentage of 1%. Yeah, Loki's big. Loki's getting real big. Let's see. I asked about Wisdomize because the next on XSDAO. Oh, well, there you have your answer. I don't know that nothing. Well, let me put it this way. Nothing on that slate to me is investable, and I won't participate with Singularity DAO anymore. I actually cut them off from having any. I used to do deals with those guys, but we have separated ourselves. I'm not going to participate. That same team that put together ASI is not a team that I'm going to put money into. Other people can. I will not. What did Hillary say? Don't keep rattlesnakes in the backyard and expect that they'll only bite the neighbor's kids. Nope. You do deals with snakes, you get what you get. I will not. All right. SDAO is blacklisted. It's not blacklisted. It's just I'm not doing business with SDAO because I do not trust them. And it should have probably been a heads up when Marcelo, the CEO, left. Like quick, like bailed, burned off quick. So at that point, and also they've set up a bunch of scammy things with me. Like they set up this big deal and and then he just wouldn't respond for like 3 weeks. Like, but you were the one who called me on a Saturday night, buddy. I didn't call you. You called me to set this whole deal up. I got it funded and then you just disappeared for 3 weeks. Was it part of your 6 weeks of Christmas vacation? I mean, they're just lazy and sloppy. I just don't want to have anything to do with them. Is Twin from SDAO? No. Twin is launching on a variety of launch pads. SDAO is just one among many of them. Although, unfortunately, they are getting their marching orders from Mario and the SDAO team, and they've made some mistakes, I think. And again, this has nothing to do with the Twin project. The project's amazing. And I love the project. They're going to do just fine. They've made some launch mistakes. They've engaged with people that I wouldn't have engaged with. And they missed what I thought was the perfect window, which over and over and over, I had recommended. Of course, my recommendation doesn't mean anything, but I said, and Brandon did too, that they should have launched this token the week of January 10th to coincide with the enthusiasm and excitement around the Bitcoin ETF that probably would have guaranteed $1 or $1.50 token, at least at some point during that launch. But our advice was not as good, apparently, as Singularity DAO's advice. So they chose to wait and wait and wait and wait, and we're still waiting. Okay. I'm seeing online ASI launch on May 24th. Well, that would be cool. I just haven't seen a for sure date yet. Anyway, okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's switch gears. Let's get away from the markets. Let's get away from the cryptos and let's talk. We got to get back in our brain box, people. Got to get back in the brain box. All right. So let's think about thinking. Of course, I got to play my cool bumpers.
Hello. You're late.
You're bad at math, but I'm giving you an A+ in confidence.
Just doing what I gotta do.
Extra credit.
Okay. We're going to talk about logarithmic thinking in investment decisions. So it's kind of like the seesaw between finite goals and long-term goals. You gotta be a long-term thinker. We're going to delve into this mostly overlooked aspect of investment strategy. And matter of fact, if you ask people like, well, are you a logarithmic thinker or are you a linear thinker? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I like them gains. Okay. Got it. Thinking in logarithmic terms. So the approach is crucial for understanding the true potential of your investments and ensuring that you don't sell your assets prematurely. And then you miss out on a bunch of growth and then you get mad. You're like, oh man, I should have done this or I should have done that. No, you should have had a plan going into it that already counted for all this. That's why we want to understand logarithmic thinking. Okay. So, well, one, let's define it. It's a way of understanding growth and change that isn't linear, but it is exponential. So for example, when you look at a Richter scale, an earthquake that measures a 5 is not just a little bit stronger than one that measures a 4. It's 10 times. It is an order of magnitude. It's 10 times more intense. Okay. So that's exponential scaling. And it's also prevalent in the world of investing. So when you're thinking of how do I kind of infuse logarithmic thinking in the investment world? Growth often follows a logarithmic pattern. right? Especially over a long time. So if take, for instance, the concept of compound interest, which is like what makes everyone over time quite wealthy. And if you have this understanding of compound interest and how you can continue to grow and propagate out your accounts, but also how it can punish you on the debt side. It's not just adding a fixed amount each year, right? So I have $1,000, I add $10. No, it's about a percentage of the total, which in itself increases over time. So an investment of $1,000 at 10% annual return doesn't just grow by $100 a year, because it's $100 the first year. And then on the year 2, you're getting 10% of $1,100, right? So you're getting more than $100 on year 2, and it keeps continuing to grow outward. And at a certain point, that compound interest growth is more than the amount of work you could do. It's more than the amount of time that you could dissolve away working for somebody else. So compounded interest and logarithmic growth necessitate you leaving your employment, because it's more important to manage the money than to trade moments of your life to some a-hole for a paycheck, you see. Okay, so there tends to be, when I discuss this a lot, I had a cool discussion about this yesterday with a friend over some cafe. And one of the biggest challenges, I think, in adopting logarithmic thinking is investing is overcoming our innate cognitive biases, right? The speed bumps. We tend to have an anchoring bias where we fixate on specific numbers or initial values. Herd mentality is another issue that comes into play, where we follow the crowd, we FOMO in, FOMO out, whatever, without considering the logarithmic potential of our investments. This is why we do the 5 T's. So overcoming these biases, and just in life in general, game theory is how you structure your decision-making and how you look at the environment, those strategic interactions between players and competitors. And then our cognitive biases get in the way. They create they create detours. They create statistical deviations from sound or rational thought. We don't want that, or at least we want to minimize that. So overcoming our biases is a key to effective logarithmic thinking and investment. You can't be a critical thinker and then be pummeled by cognitive bias and have good outcomes that are sustainable. It just doesn't work that way, right? So you got to get your cognitive biases in check. You have to at least be aware of them. If you want to enhance your logarithmic thinking, like some strategies, you say, okay, well, how can I improve this? How can I make this part of my game theory? Not just because it's separate from game theory. It isn't just that, hey, I'm going to make the best Nash equilibrium decision in this environment, and I'm going to maximize my reward function and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Maximize my payoffs. That's great. But part of the long term, the infinite view of maximizing your payoffs is not selling too quickly, not taking a small percentage return and ignoring, what is it, picking up nickels in front of a cement mixer? No. Like, you spent all this time and effort to get into this asset. Make sure you squeeze enough juice out of it that it was worth it. So by cultivating a long-term perspective, you're going to start to think less about the right now, the little price vacillations right now, and more about the big payoff. Investing is much more like a marathon or a series of marathons than it is little 50-meter sprints. Understand the power of compounding. And also, by the way, those of you that have, children's and wife's and husband's and whoever's that you care about, explain to them what the hell compounded interest is. Jesus, man. Like, it's absurd how few people understand the benefit of compounded interest and the detriment of compounded interest as it relates to debt. Don't be that guy. So if there's anything you're going to teach people, you want to teach someone, they ask you how to invest, you explain, hey, let me tell you about how compound interest works. That's the best investment lesson you can give anybody. A small but consistent growth can lead to substantial results over time that are much greater than your personal ability as a single human to earn an income getting paid by some jackwagon. So, okay, what are the practical applications for this? When you apply logarithmic thinking, it means recognizing when an investment of yours, one of your crypto projects or something else, right? A real estate project or whatever, you'll recognize when the investment has the potential for exponential growth, something that might scale. Early investments in sectors like technology or renewable energy might demonstrate logarithmic growth patterns. AI right now, potentially big data. Historical case studies, like look at early investors in companies like Amazon, Home Depot, Google, Facebook, and that shows the benefits of patience and understanding the nature of exponential growth, right? You can just see it. You're like, wow, look at all these ways where it happened. And there were some people that held on. We all, probably everybody here knows the story of some person that it's always usually some dude who had a bunch of Bitcoin who sold way too early. Everybody's got a story like that. If they had a system, 10x take 20, 2x take 10, if they systematize their exits, well, then they wouldn't have to stress about that, would they? So to conclude, right? Have patience, understand the benefits, the nature of exponential growth, of compounded interest, adopt a logarithmic perspective in your investment strategy, and also just in your overall time investment strategy. If you're going to invest time in things, moments that you'll never get back, make sure that those moments are either impactful or lead to something impactful, right? And your decision-making process should be streamlined for these kinds of outcomes. So it helps, like having this logarithmic thought, it helps in recognizing the true potential of your investments. It guides you in making more informed personal decisions. But like when to hold on to your assets, when to sell them, when to take some profit. The more you can systematize this, the more you can lay a foundation of like rules-based exits and dollar cost averaging, rules-based entry. These principles will improve your investment kind of trajectory and give you a much better chance. There's no guarantee, but it's going to be a much better chance if you have a rigid set of rules-based entrances and exits, all of it with the assumption that you want some kind of logarithmic growth. You want to win like an earthquake, right? Don't be some day trading dumbass looking for these short-term gains and punt all of your future away. You did all this work. Don't just give it up for like, I made 6%. Okay, great, I guess. God. Anyway, on that note, stay in school. Don't do drugs. Don't do anything my poor, insolvent, drunk, strung out on meth grandmother would not do. Brandon, I don't know what the weather is down there. Probably not good wherever he lives, which seems like it's always cold. But he's probably wearing it. He's probably wearing full sleeves. He probably has a wool, like one of those hats with fur and stuff like that, even though that's not very woke. Anyway, I'm out. See you tomorrow.
If you're an accredited investor and you want in on angel, seed round or early round equity and token opportunities in the artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency space, schedule an interview at nickblacknext.com. In life, you can either be really good, really lucky, or just be first. Being first is so much easier. Schedule a digital private client interview today at nickblacknext.com.